What's up, guys? It's the North End of Premier League fan channel talking to you about all things related to the Premier League, the good, the bad, the ugly, the Christmas season fixture list, the disasters, the firings, the hirings, the rumor mills, the controversies, all of it. We're just here to talk about. So, let's go.
This is the North End. This is the North End.
Guys, we're the North End Premier League fan channel. I'm Paul Forrest. Hello. With me today, as usual and as always, Luke the Duke and JP California. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well.
Yeah, good. Just,
Good energy, JP.
fantastic.
Doing good.
Yeah.
Just California, man.
Well.
I just had my last day of work for the next 2.5 weeks. I feel great.
So let's hear it, man.
Oh,
Present
God,
that.
dude. I'm so happy not to deal with little shitheads and their shitty parents. How's
Hope
that?
none
Is
of
that
them
too much?
are.
Too
Hope
much.
none of them are.
God, I hope none of them are watching.
If any of our 4 listeners are one of your parents, we're in big trouble.
Yeah.
That's it, Paul. There you go.
Not all of them. Most of them are pretty good. I do have like 25 that are like,
There he is, bringing it back, winding it back.
so. But I'm good.
Yeah.
Doing well. Just trying to finish up Christmas shopping.
Okay.
Jesus, what are you drinking?
Sparkling water.
Oh, okay.
A little early, 3 o'clock here, so I can't be drinking like the rest of y'all. So I gotta, drive
You know
a
what?
little bit.
There was a time and there was a place whenever we did this kind of thing, back when we used to have a podcast and a YouTube channel, you could hear about half an hour in when the slurring
Yes.
got really bad.
Yeah.
And it was always Brian first, and
And
then
then Luke.
Dave, and
was
then
me.
me. And then about 2 hours into a particularly long show, you could hear Brian going in circles.
His argument. Yeah.
And that's when things really heated up, because as soon as he hit the 2 hour mark and circles started happening, we were
Oh, yeah.
guaranteed to have a 3 hour show, because Dave and I did not know better and did not pull the plug.
Yeah, it's amazing that we didn't strike blows in that small studio. Powered by many narcotics. No narcotics, but it was
Lots of alcohol.
It is, Liam. It's Christmas miracle. It is, and it's always great to see you, Liam. So thank you for listening. I think it's amazing to have you here. And
Top lad, Liam. Top lad.
top guy, met him,
Nicest
great
guy
guy.
in Philly. Yeah.
Did you meet him?
Yeah, he literally ran up. He's like, dude. I was like, Liam. I knew exactly who he was right off the bat.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go. It was awesome. It
Ah.
was really cool.
He was a good dude. Good dude. We're a big fan of. We're very pro Liam here.
We are a
Wow,
big
man.
Philly
How
family.
long into meeting him did you start to say things like, "Don't look me in the eye"?
Oh, immediately. He came over. He ran up to JP, and JP welcomed him with that. Oh JP, and then he did it to me. I was like, back the fuck up.
Yeah.
Get in line for the autograph.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
Don't touch the hair.
Well,
Within 30
Oh.
seconds. It's really for the little people we do this for. It's so good to be amongst the little people.
Which
I
is
can see
ironic from a guy who's 5'7" to be talking about little people. So
I
yeah.
can see it.
There we go.
I feel
Anyways,
like
should we
Paul's
talk some
tall.
football?
How tall are you, Paul?
I'm 6'3", but I'm on the decline because age compresses your spine and
Oh,
poor
God.
posture.
that's all.
So I'm 6'3", but I'm probably getting closer to 6'2" and 7'8".
Yeah.
You look tall. You do look fairly tall.
I
I'm going the other way.
I don't
Yeah.
tell you. I am
I'm
tall.
going-
I'm
Luke
a
just
center
runs on
back
your
by trade
legs.
because I don't need to jump. I can just stand there and the ball will hit me in the head.
It's just true. It
Yeah.
is true.
And it's
Makes
pretty handy
perfect
because
sense.
I can't jump for shit.
Yeah. The knees are not what they used to be.
No, I never could.
Oh, God.
Like even when I played basketball, I was more of a stand there, get your elbows out. Don't need to jump when your elbows are up. Kind of a player. Anyways, guys, Premier League.
Oh, God, I'm so glad it's so thick and on us right now. It's great.
Ew. I don't know.
That
Come
line
on.
was perfect.
Yeah, I don't. It's not that kind of show, dude. Like, I'm just
Could
so
be that
happy
show.
that the Premier League is thick on honest, and it's hard to open our eyes because it's crusting over. You're being gross.
You're
I'm
sick.
just
knew what
watching
you were doing
so
when
many
you said it,
games right
too.
now that it's like it feels like every 3 days there's a set of games, and it's just like, what's the next one? What, like, shoot the EPL in my veins type moment. Like I just could go on. Like I feel like I could go on to this many games this often for like 5 months.
Yeah, I almost start to complain because it's almost too much to keep track of.
You probably hate baseball.
I do hate baseball. It's
Yeah, it's
meaningless.
too much.
So much of it is meaningless that I don't
Yeah.
enjoy it.
But
October
everyone
baseball is
should hate
amazing.
baseball.
Yeah.
It's wild the money they go for. It's like
It's
I'm watching this.
insane.
I mean, October
Oh.
baseball is legit because it matters and some like they're playing for something. And the Premier League does matter every single game.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you can have guys like Bournemouth beat teams that are like supposedly above them. Like that's the joy of the Premier League.
I love that.
Like teams like Luton, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to them. They are hard to beat. They're not winning games, but they're hard to beat. They're not going to last in the Premier League, but I really enjoy what I'm seeing from them so far.
You have a soft spot for them quite a bit. Like you voiced it pretty actively for a while now that you not only you love the story.
I see them for what they are. Like they should be getting demolished. They lose, but I think context matters. I think if you're losing games, but you're losing games
that you're in
4-3 against
Yeah.
like big clubs, and you're in it until the 85th minute, like that's. I see you, Luton. You're losing, but you're going down hard. Like I
I
respect.
bet their
Yeah.
fans are like, granted, they're not winning. They're probably going to go down, but like their fans are probably like, "Fuck it, let's go. Let's have a shot at it."
Oh my god, can you imagine? Like there's like
Being a
that
Luton
little
fan.
tiny joke of a stadium they have, which
Oh.
is magical and charismatic as all fuck.
Mm.
Does not deserve to be in the Premier League by standards of any stadium imaginable. And they have Man City coming into town. That's crazy.
It is
That's
mad.
like magic. I think
It
it's
is.
I think it's awesome. Yeah, and yeah, I'm a fan of theirs. I
My
think part of the way I enjoy watching the Premier League is I tend to find teams I like, not clubs, but teams like a
Mhm.
manager, a player, a group of players. I might gravitate to them for a season so that even if my team, Man United, are having yet another disappointing, shitty season, I can at least like entertain myself every weekend by like having
a side
something
team.
else to look forward to.
Yeah,
But you know what, though? You give up on teams and players, Paul, and I don't like that. You were a big Lamptey
Who does?
fan. Now, he has been injured, and you were a big Brighton fan. And I feel that you transitioned then to Wolves a little bit. You were kind of
No,
always Wolves.
No. This is
Yeah.
a mischaracterization. I did like Wolves for quite a while under the manager that just got appointed to Nottingham Forest. But I like them
Ron
because they were a promoted club. I like them for Ruben Neves, who I thought was a magical player. I did not
Neves.
pick Wolves because I was standing by them as a club. I liked that team. So when that team is no longer the team I liked for the reasons that a manager moves on or a player moves on, I'm not selecting them as being my second club. I quite like watching them. So I can move
Alright.
around from those kind of things. And
Yeah.
Brighton, I never really liked. I just
you did like
like
Wolves,
everybody
you did.
else, I pointed out they play really good football. I mean, we take it for granted, but 3 years ago when I was saying they played really good football, turns out we're still talking about them playing really good football. I just don't have to say it as much because people know it now.
Yeah,
We should come back to you talking about City ending fifth in the league, and that's an interesting prediction. That's not true, but it's starting to look like it may be a
I
possibility.
did at the start of the season say that I thought that City were going to finish fifth. I know.
Man City.
Man City. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. Let's just say that I wasn't surprised that after a treble winning season and all the champagne was consumed all summer,
Oh, Jack Grealish.
I am not as surprised that this group of players is not as competitive for whatever reason as they were in years past.
Yeah,
I've seen it before. Man United did this before as well. Like you win amazing, you win a double, you win a triple. Like it's hard to keep that pace. It's hard to keep hungry. Like
it's hard to have that emotional.
this is
tie
not
to
a
it.
shocking turn of events. But
We
having
should
said
talk
that,
about
Man
some football
City-
things.
Man City can turn it around, I think, too.
I think they're still going to win the Premier League, and it just makes me feel sick. But
Yeah. Maybe. But yeah, did you guys see the speaking of, I meant to mention this. Did anybody actually watch the heart attack moment at Luton?
do you know what?
I
had
saw
it-
the recap game.
I had it on here. I was actually watching the game before going to work, just a little bit of it, and I turned away. I think I went to grab a cup of tea, and I turned back, and I was like, "What the hell's happened?" And then you could see immediately it was bad. Like
Yeah.
he's done. He won't play
He's-
again. There's
yeah.
no way because
Oh, yeah.
that's
It's
his
the
second.
time. It's over.
That's his second. There's no way he'll be allowed to play. So, something's going on there. But glad he's well. That's the main thing.
it sounds sad, but PTSD is not quite the right response. But like I had a lot of memory rejigging from the Eriksson moment.
Yes.
Which still is probably the most traumatic thing I've seen in a live broadcast.
I remember them
sporting
bringing down
events.
his wife, and they were like putting flags up around him to protect him from being videoed, and it was like
gross.
really that definitely triggered me.
Yeah,
I think I knew a guy who is was it Nigel Benn, the British boxer who killed a man in the ring, and the guy went down, and the next thing everyone came in, and I met a guy about 2 years ago who was there. He'd gone to the fight because Ben was a big boxer. He was a great boxer, and next thing he said the crowd was just like, "What's happening?" And the guy was just completely. And then ended up dying. So it was.
Thank God that didn't happen while watching that game.
But I do gotta give some props up. Not only did the players get after the guy, but I felt like they to end the match and like just postpone it or kind of walk off was probably the right move. Because you guys remember when Eric Christensen went down and it was like FIFA were telling them to play on, like just get back out there, just go play. Like, I'm really glad that didn't occur in this situation. They realized, hey, like, we need to stop. There's a medical emergency. Like, fans, we understand are here. Like, they'll understand that we are not going to continue the game. So I do have a lot of respect for that.
And I believe at the time it was 1-1. Another Luton game where they were, digging deep against Bournemouth, who are quite kind of on a roll. So let's talk about who's on a roll and not a roll. I'm going to do something we don't ever do here on the North End. I'm going to share a screen. Now, if anybody watching this is not familiar, there is a fantastic website, completely free, no subscription, no any of that pain point stuff, called Who Scored. And Who Scored is a footy statistics website.
Yeah, it's great.
That gives you all kinds of rich data about teams and players. And at the end of every game, they give you what they call a Who Scored rating, which is like different depending on the position, but one of the things that's particularly good at is when it tells you things like the standings, it will also give you some handy information like the form, which is really cool. But you can also look at the data in different ways, like just form. So let's talk about Aston Villa. If I were to look at just form over the last 6 games in the Premier League, Aston Villa sitting pretty on top. And Arsenal, which is, can't miss that. And Everton, which is, a big shout out for Everton.
God, they're so good.
Like, that's crazy. Liverpool turning around their form, which I think they needed to do to be in any kind of title race. And Bournemouth, who I think quietly are a team I think people are underrating significantly because they have been doing some pretty good things.
For a minute, some big clubs. Playing well. Yeah,
I looked down for a minute and I looked back up again and I was like, my God, Bournemouth are high in the league. And then I realized this is the last 6 games played. I was like, man, I have not been paying attention to the rest
find
of
them down here in 14th place.
That would make a lot more sense. But we did say, but look at if you look at the bottom of the table and you just for the standings, it's incredible to really, really understand what Everton have done to be that low in the league and have your last 6 games as green,
15 points,
5 of 6 won, like is wild. Yeah.
They're like 7 of 9.
If you want to do something really wild, it's a 10-point deduction. So they should be right here.
They should be above Chelsea.
Yeah.
They should be above Chelsea. They should be right where Brighton are.
They're cheating the numbers.
And based on form, I have no problem saying this. I would anticipate that they probably should have been finished on form because they're playing really well right now.
Yeah.
7th to 8th is probably where they should have finished when the season is over. But they'll be closer to like 13th or 14th because of the 10-point deduction.
It's gonna get feisty. I think we're all forgetting that. I remember AFCON, but I totally forget about the Asia Cup. And there is going to be a lot of key players that disappear and they could be gone until I think it's like game week 24.
Well, okay, let's talk about this.
A month.
Yeah. So let's go through the teams. Arsenal, I can't think of too many players that I think would be impacted from Arsenal. They
There's
have a left back,
Tomiyasu.
Tomiyasu, who I think is probably one of the guys
Rotation.
that will go.
Yeah.
Thomas
Trossard.
Partey, I
Partey.
don't think he's a big loss.
Yeah.
But that's
I
probably
don't
the
know.
only
Partey's been
guys
pretty good.
are significant players.
Wow.
Liverpool, I don't really think they're going to
Salah.
be affected.
Salah.
Oh yeah, Salah's got to go.
Salah.
He's got to
Salah
go.
goes.
Of course, he's got to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course he's good. He's captain. Yeah.
So
That's
you know,
pretty big.
significant loss with Salah.
Mm.
Aston Villa, I don't know about you
Nobody.
guys.
Nothing.
Nobody.
Not a single
Nobody.
player.
Nice.
That's
That's
it
what you want to
doesn't,
hear.
it doesn't feel great for our, I don't want to
Well, we only have 2 games in
our words,
January,
but,
so that's gonna help us.
Man City, I mean, even if they did, I think they're fine.
couple.
Yeah.
I don't even want to highlight that.
Doku?
being
Their
bullshit.
third
Is he French?
string is top 10.
Sure.
Doku's Belgium.
Tottenham, Son,
Oh yeah.
Son
Son, yeah.
and
Bazuma.
Saw
and Saw.
and
And who?
Saw.
Oh yeah, I guess he's important. I mean, yeah, the midfield is pretty decimated then. Basuma's the big one.
And they're already injured. Like
Yeah, and they're already
think-
injured. They're already low. They're struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
That might really hurt them.
Newcastle, I don't think are overly affected.
No.
Manchester United are going to lose a keeper, probably. Well,
Yeah,
that's a
but
little
he's
up in the
looked
air.
kind of shaky lately, anyways, right?
Statistically, he's one of the best Premier League keepers. Just
That's not what I'm saying. I didn't say statistically. I'm saying he's looking a little shaky. Like he has an error in him. Does it give Man U a chance to try somebody else, like a youth player?
yeah, I
who
don't
might
really know
do
what
well?
to do with that, man. If a guy looks like he has an error in him, but he's statistically one of the best keepers in the league this season, I don't know what to do with that information.
That's like saying, well, I can give a really good.
Who,
Maguire always
Onana?
looks like he has an injury in him.
Onana's statistically one of the best in
And is
Premier
right
League
now
keepers.
statistically
you said
one
this,
of
but
the
I
best
think in the
players.
last couple of weeks, I'm not sure if I'd agree with that.
Number one, that 0-0 draw against Liverpool doesn't happen without him. Sorry, that's true.
Who's
I'm a big statistics guy. You can't. He's got the best save percentage, or one of the best save
What do you think
percentages. He's
I'm not
tied
sure.
for the most clean sheets, and he's doing that with a
Who-
pretty garbage front
there's some-
four. that's
Martinez
not
is
good.
second, and there's somebody who's first, and I can't remember his name. I think it starts with a P.
I don't know. Anyways,
I don't
either
know
way,
what
I'm
team he's
saying
in.
I do actually think it's a big deal that Man United are losing their keeper. I do think he's been keeping them in some games, and yeah, you could say giving another keeper a chance, but that's kind of glazing over the
Dangerous.
issue I think they're going to have if they lose him. West Ham, I don't think are going to be overly impacted by any of those tournaments. Brighton, I think, are.
Whoa, hang on.
Ogbonna?
Where's that? Kudus. The guy who's scoring all their goals for them at the moment.
Is he
Where is he
Ghanaian?
I'm not sure. That's what I'm asking. I don't know where
yeah.
he's from. Let's ask Google. Where is Kudus from?
I mean, the thing with him is
West
that
Ham from?
he's a right winger, and Bowen is a right winger as well.
He's injured, I think.
No,
Bowen.
Bowen's been playing through the
Oh, is
middle.
he? Oh, okay.
So yes, I think that's a loss.
Yeah,
But I think it's
Kudus would be a loss.
I think it's a loss that they can cover because he only just kind of broke through at West Ham.
Yeah, but he's leading, dude. He is. I know. I get it, but if you actually watch him the last couple of weeks, yeah, he's
No,
gone
no.
in. So
I mean,
he's
let's
gone.
call it what it is. It's a loss then, but one player on a team is not going to be the thing that decides. Whereas
Did
with
you see
Tottenham,
Liverpool score
3
today?
players.
Just out of interest against West Ham, they hammered them 5-1 in the quarterfinal of the EFL Cup.
Oh
That's,
yeah, that's a fun tournament.
It is.
And then I guess a team to highlight as well because it potentially impacts them. Everton.
Yeah, they're
I
gonna lose
think-
a few guys.
I think
Decore.
they do lose quite a few guys.
And
I think
Decore's
a
playing
lot of
mid.
guys actually. Let's have a look.
Gay.
I've got the team in front of me.
I
Everton.
don't think any Asian Cup players, but I think there's.
I've
gonna
gone from
Corey.
I've kind of gone from fuck Everton. Like I'm tired of this shit. Like I hope they go down.
be-
to, like,
yeah,
I am very
I
happy to see
know.
where they're at. I'm
It's-
impressed with where they're playing.
it's impressive.
James Garner is a kid that I said was going to have a breakout year that I think is like I watch
Mhm.
Everton so I can watch that kid, and I've been really happy to see that he is having a breakout year and helping them stay competitive.
I think it was the points deduction that made me like kind of change. Like, all right, they got deducted. Like, you expect
know what?
them to go
Yeah,
down,
yeah,
so
yeah,
you
yeah,
want them to kind of stay up now. And I was staying up, and you're like, damn it, they're playing well. Like, I don't want my team to play them.
Yeah, and it was I think because for me the point deduction I was just like it came out of nowhere. I never really thought of them as being cheaters. Even after it happened, I was like, well, I mean they didn't cheat to be good; they suck. So
Yeah,
10 points is a lot. But I guess we can circle back to the main point, which is that Aston Villa's form is fire.
Electric.
It's not
electric.
surprising.
Electric. So not for the first time this season. Probably worth talking about your manager for a minute or two.
What a man. What a man. Let's soapbox
His
this for a
hair.
minute.
Look at that hair.
Hey, listen, from one well-haired individual to the next, that was the thing I liked most about him, actually. But I'm just going to put this out here because I think it's important. And actually, Paul, can you soapbox me for a minute? I think
Soapbox.
Yeah, soapbox. So just stick me there. Oh, that's you. Okay, well there we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this out there because I think it's important. I'm gonna put it out on record. If Unai Emery stays in the Premier League for a couple of years, he will go down easily as one of the top 5 managers to ever manage in the Premier League. And I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, and I get it, and I understand. However, if you look at what he's done with this Villa team in the time he's had, with the money he's had, and actually how little he's changed, it's not just an achievement. It's a total revamp. We went from a 5-1 defeat at the start of the game, at the start of the season, and we are now challenging. We are, whether we choose to believe it or not, we're challenging for the Premier League title. Additionally, he only had one season. One season is all he got under Arsenal. It's a season that many Arsenal fans will immediately dismiss when you bring them up. In that season, he took them up a position, only to 5th. That's fair, but he still took them up a position. He also took them to a final, a Europa final, which unfortunately they lost to a very, very good Chelsea team. And he also had another cup run. So he spent very little money at the time. However, one thing he did do, which is hard to ignore, he did, whether he did it or someone else, they did spend 72 million. But he still has one of the highest win ratios at Arsenal. I think he's in the top 3 or 4 in their history, right? And to consider, what he's done at Villa and to consider like what he's achieved thus far, I don't see how we could argue the point. He is getting better and better. He's controlled. He's building a team with very, very little. I don't know. I think it's unbelievable how good this person is. Yeah, I just love him.
What's the point we're making? He's a good manager.
I'll go next.
No, top 5 Premier League managers of all time.
Of all time?
I'm going to say
That's
the third best in the EPL right now. Here,
I think
Paul,
if he stays in the league, I think he stays in there.
Okay. So
would you take my Man U?
No to both those statements. How about that? Sorry, top 5 all time.
I don't agree with.
If he stays in the Premier League, that's what I said.
If he stays in the Premier League,
yeah, of course you can't.
Just stays in the Premier League. He gets to be top 5 manager.
So let's
all time.
Yeah, I think he easily has that trajectory.
So you're not even attaching a title to that. You're just saying if he stays in the Premier League, he has to be one of the top 5 managers of all time in the Premier League.
Well, I think my point is I think he's already got the quality to be considered in the top 5.
That's what?
Luke, you're stretching, bro.
What
top 5 all time.
He needs to win. He's
done more than him.
Title.
Alex Ferguson, he's done more than him. Arsene Wenger, he's done more than him. Pep Guardiola, he's done more than him. Pochettino, he's done more than him.
Well, yeah.
What are we talking about?
How much did Ferguson
did more than
do
this guy did so far? Like he's on a good start. Like, yeah, if that's your point, he's on a good start. Fine, but like,
I think he's the third best coach in the EPL right now.
Holy shit! Come on.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? This is crazy.
I think that is.
It's not crazy. It's normal. It's this is the point though. This is the thing that's ridiculous.
But
the hatred. Aston Villa were not a manager that, when we see what he's achieved, should have got this man. We got this man because the big teams were not interested in him because he had a terrible season with Arsenal. That terrible season included a Europe final, which they lost to arguably one of the best Chelsea teams of in their history. So I think what my point is very simple. He hasn't had much time, but the time he has had in the Premier League has been very, very successful. His win ratio is through the roof.
Nobody
now got the most. He's got
on
the most
this
points.
Call is going to argue the facts that you're saying because they're facts.
But
you are jumping a chasm
What is
Yeah,
in that
of
tea?
logic to say that he's in the top 5 all-time conversation.
I said he will be. He absolutely will be. I think.
And,
I
like,
already
but
think.
even then, you were saying
You're
he
jumping-
absolutely
you're
will
jumping
be
a lot, dude. You're
based on
stretching.
just staying in the Premier League. Attach a title or a trophy to that at least.
Absolutely, and when he does, then that's fair. But I
When
look at
he
what
does.
he's achieved. I'm looking at what no manager has achieved as much as he has with the teams that he has in Europe. It's really crazy when you look at what he's achieved constantly. Minimum final.
He
if
is
not
a
winning it.
serial winner, and he is, to me, the 3rd best coach in the EPL right now. And I'm going to
Correct.
stick my guns on that. But top 5, you're stretching, dude. You're already 4
Of course,
or
I'm
5
stretching.
top-
It's a fucking opinion. What do you people not get about an opinion? You
It's a
don't have
bad
to agree
opinion.
with it.
It's a
Oh,
bad
yeah,
opinion.
it's a little- it's a
Really?
little-
Yeah,
But people-
it's a very out there opinion. It makes
It's
me
an out
wonder
there.
why
I don't
we're
know
on
if
a
bad
fucking
is
show
the word
about
out
football.
there. But
Hang on. People that make money by taking your money when you bet, like you both do and lose, and Connie does and keeps the betting agencies in their business. They are the people that know. They have the data. They have everything. They said, no, Leicester are 5,000 to 1 in the Premier League. They won the Premier League. It's not. I'm not saying it's regular, but these things happen. And so to go, oh well, you're stretching. Yeah, maybe it's a stretch, but I don't think a manager has done what he's done so quickly in the time that he's had. He's had less than 2 seasons in the Premier League, and and his first season with a team that was going through a massive restructuring and losing their all-time greatest manager and one of the all-time greatest managers of all time. They managed to get to a final, and they went up a position in the league, and they were building. With Villa, he's taken us from a relegation battle to potentially the Premier League title battle.
Until he wins a trophy.
That's
or
fair.
2
And that's
3
that's
or
fair.
multiple. Keep the fucking conversation away from top 5 all time.
No,
That's
I refuse to.
Crazy and outlandish. And Will Smith is going to get up on stage and smack you.
Villa
Okay.
fan
He
here.
can.
Next subject.
Okay.
He can. No. Hang on.
I'm happy to have
go
a
back
more
JP's
grounded
point.
conversation in how good he is right now against this current roster of managers. That's a very reasonable conversation to have. You can
But
rank
that's
them
not
high.
interesting.
That's
Nobody likes a
fine.
grounded
Here's the
conversation.
interesting one,
You
Paul.
don't watch reels
All
of
the
grounded
time.
conversations.
If Villa don't
All
get top
time.
4, is it a huge what do you call it?
Loss from this position.
No. Like when you bluster it.
Bottle?
Yeah,
Fumble.
is it a bottle? If Villa don't get top 4, is it a bottle?
Fuck no. Well, I mean, top 4 and you get 8. Like, we talking finishing 5th?
We're talking no Champions League, and that could be 4th. That could be 4th or 5th spot.
So, okay, I say worst
So
case
you-
scenario,
6 or
worst
lower.
case scenario, say you finish 5th. Personally, and again, this comes down to if you lose 3 games in a row and that's how you lose your 5th spot, then you could probably make an argument that you bottled it because if all you had to do is win one of those 3 games. So context matters.
Right.
Where you are right now in the standings, if at the end of the season, so much season still to play, you guys finish 5th, that's a very good season for Aston Villa. That's a marker down for the progress you've been making as a club with this manager. And I still think it would be very harsh to call that a bottle job. I do think phrases like bottle job get used too often. I think guys like Brian Ireland are desperate to have bottle job become
Especially with
a
attached to
phrase that gets
Arsenal.
used for every club besides just Spurs.
Brian
So
Ireland.
like they'll fucking use it with Liberty. I do think Aston Villa went to the season, and I don't think any expectation was to finish 4th. So to even be in that race right now is great. And if you end up finishing 5th, again, depending how you may not get into the 4th spot, I think it would be very harsh to say that it's a bottle.
Fair enough. I
And
like
that's
that
just, like,
idea.
that's like I try to be reasonable with this kind of shit. Like a team, just because they're doing really well at the midpoint of the season, is still the same team that they were when the season started. So why are we dramatically changing the expectations just because they may be stretching their goals somewhere along the way?
It's a good answer. I'll take it.
And he's a great manager. Like everything Luke said about this guy is completely true. He's a very good manager. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out at Arsenal, and Arsenal pivoted with another manager and it seemed to work out. I personally think Arsenal maybe
It
realized
didn't
how far away the
initially.
squad was, and they just wanted to gut the squad a bit and bring in somebody on lower expectations for a couple seasons to rebuild, and
That's worked
he
out.
wasn't that guy. But I think he came in and he's put his fingerprints all over Aston Villa in terms of the style of play and bringing in the right players, the recruitment. I think he's got guys playing out of their skins. He's the only one that's been able to crack the code to get Ollie Watkins to be a consistent goal scorer in the Premier League. Like, there are so many things that are positive and good about this manager. And
who would you take from Villa right now?
What's
into
that?
Your squad? What player would you take into your squad right now?
Into my squad?
Yeah.
Oh, your CDM all day.
Torres?
Which
no,
Kamara?
Yeah, no, not Kamara. He's a fucking
Dougie.
Yeah, Dougie. Like, he's a baller. Like,
he's really an 8.
He's a guy, but he plays.
He sits, but then he's
like a very
runner.
intelligent CDM to me. But like
sick.
For me, he's got that thing where he is thinking higher than everybody else.
Ahead.
Like, it's not a physical thing he has, it's a cerebral thing he has. And he's got the ability with his body and his feet and his touch to pull off a lot of the things he's thinking about. So like the phrase, they're playing checkers and he's playing chess. That's how I feel about him. But also he's got bite and he's a little bit tenacious. I think he's found his like kind of comfort level within the system and the Premier League. So for me, like, I would take him all day. I'm actually a really big fan of watching Aston Villa play. To watch,
I actually think that I don't think that's the player. If United could take a player that would make a direct impact, I personally think John McGinn would. I think John McGinn would add more to your team right now. No. And as I said, Paul's right. Onana is not like, it's not the goalkeeper that's the problem. Like, he's not amazing, but I still think he's got quality. And I think if the team is better, but I think John McGinn, because John McGinn has a tenacity about him that I think would elevate things. You know, and I know you've got players. You could argue that you have players with tenacity. As much as you hate him, Scott McTominay plays with tenacity, but he's a bit ridiculous, and so you don't know where to play him. But I think a John McGinn, and remember, John McGinn is a player that Sir Alex called out. He was like,
he wanted him.
He's a United. He's
but like, he called him out years ago.
Yeah,
for sure. And
so I am surprised to hear anybody who's an Aston Villa fan saying that between those two players, the McGinn is the guy that any top club is missing between the two of them. For me, that tells me that you guys don't appreciate how good.
Oh, I appreciate Dougie. I think Dougie's our best. I would think Dougie's our best outfield player.
Because he is.
And Emi Martinez is the best player Aston Villa's ever had in our career.
Well, that's stupid. And you have a boner for Argentinians or something.
No. We've never had a World Cup winner.
Did he win the World Cup for you? Who gives a shit if he won a World Cup for Argentina?
World Cup. He is. And what he does per game, he makes 3 out of your.
I'm sorry. Let's not circle back here. Because a player wins a World Cup for a national team, somehow that makes him the best player that's ever played for your club.
I mean, if you want to go by accolades, yeah, I would say if
the same reason that you were dismissing my Unai Emery point, accolades. Not to play devil's advocate, but to play devil's advocate there, JP. No. Oh.
I mean, the thing is, the growth of Emi Martinez from the whole time we've had him has been unreal, and to see him skyrocket like he's done is pretty amazing. I think any team, bar City or Liverpool, would jump for Emi Martinez, especially with the price point we bought him at 20 mil.
Oh my God, the bargain of the century.
All right, let's move on from Villa. I feel like that's been a long time.
No, I like Villa.
I do too.
And I need Dwight York was a pretty good player. I'm just going to throw it out.
He was
other players. But he wasn't. No. But Dwight York didn't have the impact that Emi had. So I'm going through in my head now the Villa players over the years. You know, we had some legacy players. You know, even Jack Grealish. Grealish is one of the best outfield players we've ever had.
I think Emi is the best player we've ever had. I think Jack's in the top 5. And there's other players like Paul McGrath, of course, and, you know, Martin Laursen and James Milner. Sorry, McGrath. But I think Emi Martinez is there. And I think John McGinn is actually going to go down as one of our best players of all time as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the way he plays.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how
I'm going to be honest. I really hope that Emi Martinez is not your best player you've ever had. I hope that in the history of Aston Villa.
If Dougie does what he's doing for the next 3 years, it'll be Dougie.
Of course, you'd hope that when you have not a single player that's showing any form of, you know, enjoyment at Man United. So
the idea
like,
that Dougie's
no
like
business.
the
What-
best player.
what's it got to
he's
do with
only
my team?
been doing it
You're
for
gonna tell
about
me right
6
now,
months.
isn't it kind of a sad statement that Emi Martinez is the best player to ever play from Aston Villa? That makes me sad. There's got to
have
be
not had
somebody
good
Make it sad.
Why?
because he's only
'Cause he's
been
not
there a
fair
short
enough?
period of time, and he's
I
a
don't-
keeper.
No, he's
But
been
that's
here
Anytime
for
anybody
4
picks the
years.
keeper
That's
as being the
terrible.
best player they've ever had, I'm always like, oh, really?
I'd
4
accept-
years, and
Wow.
he's amazing. And you got to realize we've had some very shit keepers for a long time.
We've had years and years.
We didn't
This is
have
what I'm
De
hearing,
Gea.
guys.
We haven't had
Anybody
guys in
picks a
years.
fucking keeper as the best player to ever play for their team, I get sad. It just is what it is. I want to slightly rant about this piece of shit here.
That's
So,
perfect. I hit the bathroom.
The officiating this season has been terrible.
I
right?
actually like this guy.
There has been so many questionable calls. There's been so many moments with VAR. There have been so many like moments of inconsistency and handballs and a bunch of other stuff. I don't like singling out errors too much, but this is a different kind of error where in the span of 5 seconds, Man United play Liverpool in what is a huge game every single season. It's an intense game. It's in the 90th minute or something. It's very combative. A ball gets kicked out of play. Fine. He makes the wrong call. Fine. Man United player is upset and air punches the wall, or like just the air, just like whatever. In the span of 5 seconds, this official decides that everything else is secondary and that he needs to put his footprint into the game, and that not one yellow, but 2 yellows in the span of 5 seconds are required. And Man United are down a guy at Liverpool, 0-0 game, extra time, just doing everything he possibly can to potentially tarnish the game. All you got to do is be chill, man. You're an official. Somebody punching the air, that's you choosing to be offended by something. That's not your job, man. Do what's right for the game. Give 1 yellow and maybe a stern talking to the guy, if you even choose to give a yellow, which was a choice you didn't have to make in the first place. Just a wild, wild decision that is just a different kind of outrage I have. VAR is still a problem. Officiating still a problem. I still hate the fact that if there's a goal scored, you have to wait a second or two to find out if it was a real goal, if that explosion of joy and energy was worth it. But this shit, this ego stuff where a referee decides that their offense is worth potentially ruining a huge game, I don't have time for it. That's my rant. Very upset about the moment. I'm still kind of perplexed and confused by the whole event. I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm opening up to conversations now. It might just be me. It may have just been a moment where I'm the only person who's just like, fuck this shit.
I'll jump in. I think to make the changes needed to VAR, you need to remove slow frame out. You need to open discussions so that audience, maybe not in the stadium because that makes it.
JP, I feel like you left the room and think we're talking about VAR.
Refereeing.
No, I'm specifically talking about this particular moment where 2 yellow cards in the span of 5 seconds because he was offended by somebody punching air.
Wow. I did leave the room. I went to the restroom.
You did, and okay. So why don't I assist JP? So I'm going to play devil's advocate and say you're wrong, Paul. I understand your frustration, and I think if that had happened to us, I would share and equally would be frustrated. However, I have said for a while, and I will continue to say it, that the level of abuse and the level of conversation and communication that happens between players and the referees and the way it happens is highly, highly problematic. The reason this has been highlighted so badly is because just the other was the Haaland incident a couple of weeks ago where Haaland is throwing his arms and he's there in the referee screaming, spitting in his face, and nothing happens. So that is fair. I remember watching it back. I don't think it was an unfair sending off. I think Dalot is petulant. I think Dalot is stupid in his reaction, and I think the referee. Now,
would you not at least concede that a yellow card within 5 seconds, a second yellow card, when the guy hasn't even like you can see it. He wasn't
That-
even registering the first
when-
yellow card.
Was that so? The first one, how long before the first? Because
It was
I
about
missed.
8 seconds.
He punched air, yellow card,
Yeah.
and then he wasn't quite done punching air, so he kept punching air, and then the second yellow card came, all in the span of 5 seconds, and
Okay,
from
so
a distance, like he
that is
wasn't
that,
close enough to be like registering that he
Yeah, it was
pulled
about
the card.
30.
yeah. So that
yards
okay.
forward.
So in with that I was misconstruing this. I thought he was already on a yellow card. Was he not?
No.
It was
Got
2
two yellows in the span
in
of 5
10
seconds. Hey, you punching the air, yellow card. Oh, you're gonna punch it again? Yellow card, red card off.
Rant
In the
away.
90th minute of a 0-0 game.
Yeah, rant away.
And
Rant
and
away.
by the way, and here's the thing. Yes, there have been moments where players are kind of given the boundary of you can do that, but you can't do that. So you could highlight Haaland's behavior, which doesn't result in a sending off. And like, how are players supposed to know what level of intensity they're allowed to have when it's a bad call? But this specific game, Darwin Núñez shoulders the holy hell out of Johnny Evans, complete foul, doesn't like the call, even though it's completely right. He gets a yellow card for like dangerous play, kicks the ball 30 feet into the direction of the net after the whistle, and then starts to sarcastically applaud the referee and nod and nod and nod and nod, right? Like pure dissent after potentially injuring a player. No call. Not even a conversation. Not even a come over here, my boy. I don't want to see that from you anymore.
Yeah.
But Delo kicks the air because of a bad, and again, it was an
That is
incorrect
ridiculous,
call.
Correct.
So
that
The
that is fair.
inconsistencies are ridiculous.
and
It's staggering.
inconsistencies are bad, and I get it. Like I would love it if there was more consistency. The bottom line is a Premier League referee choosing to be offended by punching the air when it's Man United versus Liverpool and everybody is intensity. Do not make that game about you by getting involved in anything less than officiating what the players are doing to each other. Unless they force your hand and get up in your grill or do something where they're making it about you by doing something. Like it was just pure shit officiating, and it's a different kind of shit officiating that we've seen this year. So I wanted to highlight it because this is the stuff I usually get upset about when it comes to officials. I hate that I always have to talk about VAR and I have to talk about this other like level of shittiness. So it's almost refreshing that I have a legitimate thing to talk about,
Regular level of shit.
like a regular officiating complaint. But it was just, it's wild to me. I was so annoyed. And I was especially annoyed that nobody stepped forward after the fact and like said, no, that was a mistake. Because the referee,
they never want to admit mistakes. And that's what I don't like is the continuing backing of some of these referees that make these issues, right? Yeah. And it's like, no, he's fine. It was one mistake. Maybe like it could be seen this way. And I just hate that referees are then banished to the lower league for like 2 weeks, 2 games, and then they come back up and it's like, no, everything's forgotten. It's so bad. It's bad.
Terrible. It's terrible. And then some of these pundits who are ex-referees, like they're still part of the refereeing community. They're still part of that club. Like they don't come forward and be like, I wouldn't have done that. They'll come forward and say, well, I mean, he did punch the air. And he did punch the air twice, so I can see why he gave that. Like it's stupid.
That's the thing. I can see why.
Yeah.
I hear that line every time. I can see why he did it. Well, I can too, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like,
yeah. That's one of the reasons why I particularly like watching the NFL is because when they have a former official on the mic that you check in with, they will be like, that's a bad call. It's not what I would have done. And it's done there and in the broadcast, they live.
Yep, on TV.
They'll say things like, well, I'm seeing what they're seeing, and I disagree.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool, yeah, validation for the people watching. That's great.
I feel like it actually lowers the tension. Like, it lowers the anger when you're like, all right, cool, I'm not the only one who sees that.
Yeah. Okay, we got screwed. Well, we can all agree we got screwed.
Yeah, we got screwed. All right, you say we got screwed. All right, we got screwed.
This is a second pseudo rant. Greenwood is trending on Twitter. I don't know if you guys know this. It's an annoyance I have. Mason Greenwood is a right winger who scores goals, who's young and he's talented, and he used to play for Man United. He still belongs to Man United. We still own him. Every single time our right wing does nothing particularly worthy of attention. He trends on Twitter because
Every
he's going,
time, really, eh?
basically, because he's off in Spain and
Yeah,
he's
he
doing a
is.
really good job. He just had a really
Of
good
course.
game against Atletico Madrid.
He did.
Griezmann highlighted how good he was in the second half of the game and how they couldn't stop him. So he's trending, and
Every
there's
2 or
just this
3 weeks.
clear community of Man United fans, a lot of whom are plastic, I'll admit, who just are like, why can't we just bring the star boy back? Bring the star boy back. And I particularly want to highlight, I've seen some of this in some of the community groups where people are like, you know what, if he was the reason why we finished so highly when we had Ole at the wheel, and him not being available for Ole is why we finished in 8th at the end of that season. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say to everybody, yes, he is one of the reasons why we finished so well with Ole. And yes, he is one of the reasons why we finished so poorly that season when he was not available. Do not lament the decision to lose him. Fucking get mad at this piece of shit for being the kind of person who can't just play football, but needs to get suspended and arrested and kicked out of the
100%.
country and all these other things. Be annoyed by this kid. All those things are true. I fully believe that if he hadn't been like arrested and had played the entire season with Ole before he was fired for Ralph Dickhead piece of shit, like, we would have had 5 or 6 goals from this kid that probably 3 of those would have been game winners, because that's the kind of kid he is. And we would have gotten 6 points or 9 points or whatever it is. But he got arrested for doing something fucking shady as fuck and deplorable. So even if you're right in football senses,
and
be annoyed that he's the kind of character that did that and let us down.
But then what's the ultimate point though here, Paul?
The ultimate point is,
my ultimate point is fucking shut up about Mason Greenwood and move on, everybody.
But that's to a moral standard, and like then
JP,
all of a sudden, but sports are more important. There's no moral standard for sports athletes.
There's no moral standards. There hasn't been moral standards in football, in American football.
That doesn't mean you can't want it.
Pardon?
That doesn't mean you can't want it.
It's not about wanting it, right? But you see, this is where I find I'm not sure, because charges were dropped. Charges were dropped, right? I hang on. It doesn't matter, JP. At the end of the day, the charges would. It doesn't because that
doesn't mean he was innocent.
I'm not.
Well, hang on.
I'm not saying he was.
Let's not get into that was he guilty and not guilty situation, because frankly, like, we'll never know. And like let's let I think it's talk through.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to say that he probably wasn't guilty of something that was probably incredulous.
Sure.
However, I'd never condone it. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. But he's a young kid who made a stupid mistake. And do we live in a society where people are given a second chance? Because you'd want a second chance and people would want a second chance. And how does that work? Now, to your point, I think, unfortunately, whoops. That's how cool. I'm back. It was a good catch, actually. I think it's simple. I think it's either you either sell him, or you are this is gonna keep happening, because if he's gonna have a great season, he's scoring goals, he's doing things, and then what happens at the end of that season? Like, do you think he'll ever play again for United, Paul? Do you think there's any chance that he plays for United again? Are they trying to see if they bode enough time?
Don't think so, but if he does, there's very specific things that have to happen, and they include a public interview addressing the allegations, and he still disputes that the claims are untrue. But those are claims that were made against him by his now girlfriend, baby mama, who he's still with. So, like, go in front of a camera and together explain how that was an allegation she made, and you're saying it's untrue. What's the story there? Like, it has to be like no more closed doors, no more like we deny to tell the story stuff. I don't know if he's willing to do that. I don't even know if I want to put her in a situation just so that she could play for Man United again. But if he wants to play for Man United again, and if somebody in the club who has heard the story and has a satisfactory reason why it's not a scumbag story after all, then that needs to be explained to everybody. Like not even just Man United. That needs to be explained to any Premier League club who takes this kid. there has to be some sort of satisfactory reason why he was accused of doing that. And despite the fact he's claiming that he's innocent, there's been no, well, then is she lying? Like, what's going on then? Because he's with her. So somebody explain it.
Yeah.
So I don't see that happening. So I don't see him being a Premier League player anytime soon, unless that kind of PR spin is taken care of.
There's a lot of Man U fans who still want him.
And there's a lot of Man United fans who still want him. So I guess my thing is,
the fans.
If it's true that we got sucker punched because we didn't have this goal scoring machine in our team, well, we didn't have it because he was doing scummy things.
Yeah.
So he let us down by being a scumbag.
Yeah.
He let himself down by being a scumbag. He let his family by being a scumbag, if in fact he was a scumbag. And if he wasn't a scumbag, let's give him a chance to explain himself. But an explanation is the next thing before he comes back. For me, I don't think that's going to happen. For me, I have no problem selling him. I have no problem morally if we make a profit on him and move him on. But like the Man United fans who keep fucking hyping this kid like he was the second coming of some great thing, or that the situation we're in right now, which is a rebuild situation, is way worse than it could have been because we don't have him available. Yeah, it probably is way worse than it could have been if we had him available. The kid scored a bunch of goals in the Premier League. That's fucking that's gold for us. But look, and he let us down. He let us down. Let's remember that. He's the one that his moral fiber fucking sucked. So he let us down. And that's my rant of Beast and Greenwood. I hope he and his girlfriend and his new kid are settled down. I hope they live like happily. And I honestly hope that, you know, he isn't the guy who does that kind of shit to his partner, and that there is an explanation that somehow makes him not someone that might do it again, which is the terrible fear I have, is that he might be the kind of guy who
doesn't
lock somebody into a committed relationship because he got her pregnant, and it's another form of abuse to keep somebody close to you.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, all of this is gross, and it's got nothing to do with football. It's got nothing to do with like the sport I like. So I get very frustrated and disheartened when I see people defending a kid because he scores goals. Like that's more important than the fact that we know he's a scumbag, potentially.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when football players do it either, although the NFL are masters of making that shit go away.
Yeah. They are very good. You should teach classes because, and this is the advantage of saying that your favorite player of all time is a goalkeeper. You don't deal with this kind of controversy. Nobody's caring. Nobody's having these crazy affairs.
Just humping a trophy, man. Leave him alone.
Yeah,
that's it.
You can't tell me you're going to be surprised in 3 years' time if you find out some really fucking weird, shady shit with that guy.
I would. He comes off a lot of like family man type orientation. He seems to go home and stay with his family quite a bit.
Right. If all of a sudden he decided to punch a fan,
that would shock me.
You wouldn't be shocked.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
Like if you went Eric Cantona.
If you went Eric Cantona, that is not something that would shock me.
No, but then I don't think that makes him a bad guy. Fuck him.
Hold on. Has no one?
No, I don't mean like a secret family, or he's got a thing with.
Oh, I thought that's not what I thought you were meaning.
I mean more like if he ends up doing some kind of wild stuff, like how back in the day it might have been a dark mark on Zinedine Zidane's career that in a big game he headbutted a guy, right? I mean, there was so much worse, and there has been so many worse controversies since that one. But if he were to do something in the vein of an old school controversy,
right,
that we all saw live on television, you can't tell me like Martinez would be a shock.
Not that type of
Yeah,
no,
because he's the red card waiting to happen. So is Kamara. That's all I'm saying about
his shithousery is great.
Kamara's just young.
Premier League's coming up. We actually have games starting on Thursday, so everybody out there who's got fantasy football, don't forget.
Oh, just FYI, we should have a little fantasy update.
Lucas crap at fantasy update. All right, we're over.
I'm actually doing okay, but it's more that I do a lot better if I didn't keep incessantly changing my team. However, I don't know if you've seen, but the points awarded in any Luton and Bournemouth game are to be voided. So if you took the point hit to take Solanke over Haaland and you got those 6 or 7 points, they are going to be voided. So that's a bit of a
Suck on that a one time.
It's a bit.
But
of
it
a,
does
bit
mean
of a-
Solanke is going to have a double game week at some point.
Yeah.
It does. It does. But can Bournemouth
Which-
keep up this? They're an injury away from going back to because they have guys who are creating opportunities, and one or two of them are creating
finishing.
pretty much all of them. It's Tavernier,
Mhm.
and then you've got Epping or Epping.
Tavernier good.
The guy looks
Just
like a
on the
young
cusp of the
Solanke.
top 10,000 in Canada in my fantasy. I just checked it out.
There you go.
Nice.
If I crack the top 5,000, I will.
Don't you guys only have like a population of 18,000?
16.
Okay, thanks.
You know what? Actually, it's a fair question because obviously that's an ignorant thing to say from a teacher in
I know
America,
what the
but I
real
expect no
number
less.
is,
But
but it's okay.
the population
I
of people who
don't.
play fantasy football in Canada is probably not that high.
By the way, Paul, can we see your dog?
Sure,
See him in
man.
the background. I like dogs. Oh, what a cutie! He's a little vest on, or is that a bandana?
No, it's a little bandana.
Oh, that's so
What's
cute.
happening to this podcast?
He's the best.
Dogs give a shit.
Yeah, we just
Paul, where were you in Canada overall?
in Canada, I am. And again, I don't know out of how many. 10,381.
Okay, and JP, I'm crap, and I'm 3,998.
I haven't been able to log on since the first week, so I'm not even joining
keep
on my
saying
side.
that.
No,
No,
dude,
me
I
too.
can't change anything.
Do you know I've been scared to change my team. I had a really great team name. It was 2 girls, 1 schlup, and I got the name removed, and they said, "Oh, you can appeal if you think it's a wrong one. But if you appeal too many times, they keep knocking out." But it's I think it's a great name. I think it's not offensive.
I'm so glad none of my kids know what that is. Oh,
I
that was just a generational thing, and we move
Was
on.
like,
We try and
none of your
forget it.
kids. You don't have kids yet, do you?
No, my students.
Wait, Luke, are you in the Aston Villa group?
I am. I think I don't know which one. Yeah, I'm in one of them. But yeah, apparently my unless I'm looking at the wrong one. General Leagues Canada 3,998. I'm on 999 points, Paul.
But you're not in the Aston Villa Toronto Supporters Club group?
I am. I'm 12th. Where are you in there?
I'm like,
Oh, there you are.
34th.
34. Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Oh yeah, your name is
Struggling.
changed name.
Exactly. Yeah. they made.
Crystal Palace, Brighton. Brighton, I think, need to turn some stuff around.
It's at home for
Aston
Crystal
Villa hosting Sheffield United. I feel like you guys on a Friday should have a pretty comfortable day of it.
If the fans show up and push us on, I just as a Villa fan, I constantly think there's a banana peel, and then we just do well. So hopefully we can do well, win this, and set ourselves up for a nice Christmas for us.
I don't think Sheffield United have it in them to surprise you
think
guys.
so.
They're pretty
bad.
poor looking these
They're bad.
days. West Ham are hosting Man United. West Ham, I think, are gonna. I don't like Man United's chances in this game. I think West Ham are playing
Ooh.
really well. I don't think Man United are healthy yet. So I actually like West Ham's chances of winning this one. Fulham versus Burnley. Fulham have been fucking good lately, man.
Iwobi is becoming the guy for them. And I think it's Raul Jimenez has scored. Hasn't he scored?
But he got a red card. He's out.
He has been scoring, but he did get a red
Oh.
card. So yeah, he won't be available for this one. But
alright.
Burnley have been so bad.
Was it a straight red or was it a?
Yeah.
It was a straight red. It was a.
Oh, so that's 3 matches
He
then.
basically
Yeah.
like jumped into a guy.
With his butt.
Oh no, I did. I saw it. It was awful.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely
pretty
awful.
harsh. Luton hosting Newcastle, who I think need to start getting back to like a certain standard. And I don't think Luton's going to be an easy game to get back into that, even though Luton, are not that good and will be without their captain. I still think they've got a lot of grit, and I don't know. I'll be curious to see this one. Nottingham Forest with their new manager hosting Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bournemouth's
Is
looking
that
good.
famous new manager hot? But Bournemouth are playing so well.
They're so hot right now.
They're so hot right now. I
Hot,
like,
hot,
and
hot.
they must. I think Bournemouth must have been like feeling like they just escaped a draw or possibly a loss against Luton, because Luton were taking it to them in that game that got called off.
So I'm trying to concentrate, but you know what's funny? JP's doing his whole heart thing, and also he totally missed the pop culture reference that you and I made, and then he was just like feeling heart. I'm like, well, it's another form of heart, but yeah, we were talking about Zoolander.
Ah, dude, I never liked that movie. I know. I'm not a huge fan of Will Ferrell, believe it or not.
Kick him out. Kick him out.
I know.
Kick him out.
I don't. I'm a what's the Vince Vaughn type guy?
But not over Will Ferrell.
But like,
I don't like.
They're like the same kind of comedy.
No, they're not. Vince Vaughn,
but they're
one-liners.
They're in the same comedy class. Like there's
but they don't do the same comedy. And I just don't really love Will Ferrell's comedy where I'm like a 5-year-old, but I'm an adult. I don't think that really.
You had Ben Stiller in it. He had Jerry Stiller. You had his father, who's one of the most iconic Jewish.
Yeah, I don't call Zoolander a Will Ferrell movie. He's in it, but he's a genius villain character. Like I don't know.
He is. Owen Wilson.
And also, by the way, Vince Vaughn is in Zoolander.
I know he is. I know he is.
Is he?
I just don't.
Yeah, he's one of the
him.
brothers in the mining town.
Yeah, he does have a great role. I love.
Is he really? I can't even remember that.
The movie I do like Will Ferrell in is Old School, because he's not the main character and he's like has a weird, interesting little like.
Old School's fantastic.
Frank the Tank.
Yeah, Frank the Tank. Dude.
Yeah,
because he's not. He doesn't play a 5-year-old. Like I hate Step Brothers.
That's wild.
Yeah, I just don't like that.
What about Anchorman?
There's a lot of funny moments in Anchorman. But that's because the cast is actually unreal. Like Anchorman's cast is really good.
Will Ferrell movies tend to have unreal casts. Just
they do. They do. He is in some legit movies. Anyways, back to
listen. We've learned a lot about you, and I'm disturbed by it.
It's okay.
Spurs are hosting Everton. I really want Everton to win. I'm tired of Spurs. I'm tired
of yeah. We used to have such a fun time on this podcast. Like just Brian Island, just unable to take any banter and just having a meltdown. Usually boozed up. It was just we didn't need a lot.
Vulcan go does not compute.
Yeah, it was really fun, and now it's hard because Connie's kissing his ass, being like, "Oh, I love Ange Ball." It's like, ugh.
Yeah, he's right up there.
Oh God,
Convery doesn't really banter; he just lifts up other clubs.
He's a good person.
He's not. He's not great.
He's not.
I know some things. I've seen some photos. Liverpool are hosting Arsenal, and what has to be the game of the week? We don't do game of the week anymore, but if there's a game of the week, in fact, if there's a potential game of the season so far, just in terms of what this could mean to the title race for both these teams, who are both in that race, this is big. Liverpool, who are just on the, I think the first time in however many games, scoreless at home against Man United, hosting Arsenal, who are coming in. Finding some form, looking pretty good.
Yeah, this could be a kicker. Could be nothing.
I'm like,
I really
trying to work out if I could
win.
Could I go and watch that before my flight? I don't want to miss that game.
Oh, and it's also that sweet spot of it's a good time to go to a bar and watch games.
Yeah,
Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I know, GP. I'm sorry to say it, but we look at games differently from you. I'm sorry.
Oh God, 6 a.m. games are so rough.
So I'm gonna while we're on this very brief topic. And I'm going to start doing, I think, more transfer rumor stuff or transfer opinion stuff throughout the show. Nice. Let's say you're Arsenal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For whatever reason, money is there to buy Ivan Toney, specifically Ivan Toney. Question: do you buy him? Second question. Arsenal with Ivan Toney, is that enough to win the league this season?
God, it's a great question.
You buy it is. No, it's not.
It is a great question.
So start with number one, Ivan Toney. And again, let's assume that if you're buying him, you're only buying him because you think it's going to win the league. And if you don't win the league with Ivan Toney, somebody's job is going to get lost. Like, let's call it like a consequence situation. So, Ivan Toney to Arsenal. Do you do it because you believe it wins you the league?
And it doesn't matter price. We're gonna say
And let's just assume it doesn't matter price. At some point, Arsenal are going to have to realize that they only have so many years and windows to beat Man City, and Man City are giving them that window now.
Yeah.
So
they're
if
gonna
you
have
were
to-
going to do this this summer, or if you were going to do it in a year
You
from
gotta do it
now, bring those plans forward, invest that money now, get your run.
Yeah,
Get your
you have
title
to
if
get
you
him.
He's coming in.
You
What
have to-
you saying? He's coming in January. We're saying Ivan Toney right now.
in January. And I know there are other strikers we could be talking about. There's Victor Osimhen
Then
from
no.
Napoli. There's other guys, but Ivan
Yes.
Toney for
Oh.
me is the conundrum one because he's obviously Premier League proven, but he's also been off for months.
Exactly.
So
There's
he's
no
not-
match fitness. He's not been in the fold, and you're asking him to come in and win you the league with only what 3-4 months left.
Right.
When's it run till?
So JP, what are you gonna do as Luke processes this?
As Luke processes it, I'm going to say yes, but I'm taking it from an Arsenal like board member viewpoint.
Right.
If you're looking at this and you're saying this is our opportunity to win, who is the best striker that's going to need the least amount of time to adapt? I'm going to say it's Ivan Toney, because other strikers in Europe might not do what they do in their home leagues in England. Ivan Toney can do it. Do they win with
you
him?
think they win the league with Ivan Toney
No.
in January?
I do not, because I think Arsenal have they have a moment of lapse where they will give up 3 games in a row. They did it last year. They did. It
I
the year
don't know.
before,
I
and
don't. I
just
don't think. I don't think
they
so
can
with.
do it. I don't think they have the character.
With Rice. I don't think they have that lapse anymore. I think Rice is extraordinarily good.
He is great, but I just don't think Arteta.
They're also a year older
has
now.
that. I don't think
doesn't
Arteta
matter.
has that je ne sais quoi, that extra character, that extra spirit of we are winning.
Je
I
ne
think
sais
he
quoi.
always je ne sais
Okay.
quoi.
Okay.
He has something where it's just not there for Arteta for me.
So you think they're basically operating with a handbrake as long as Arteta's in charge?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. But you
Okay.
said, but
Luke?
then you said you would buy him. So
Yeah.
on what-
As a board
why are you
member, I
buying
would
him?
buy him. As a fan looking
he-
at this,
we're all very clear. He's cheated the question by saying yes, but then he doesn't believe it'll work.
Yeah, it's
Luke?
it's complete.
Ivan Toney.
I, having had a very quick look, no. I think
No?
I think no. I think if you're buying a player in January with the focus of winning the league, because City are giving you that window, as everything you just said, Paul, you have to put money off the table. You have to be like, right, we're going to go for it. In 68 Premier League games, oh God, he's 32 goals.
Dude, that's what it
For Brentford.
It's pretty good. It's
and Arsenal
pretty
make way
good.
better chances.
You know what? No, I'm still gonna hold it and say no. I think Arsenal have enough talent in that team, and I think if you're gonna buy if you're gonna buy a player that adds that team, I don't think Tony's the player that wins you the league. I just don't. I don't think he offers enough new quality to that team. I think you need. Do you know who they need? Do you know the kind of player they need? They need a Van Nistelrooy. They need a poacher. They need someone who's going to come in and poach goals for them, because they've got talent and they've got skill and they've got everything else. But they need a poacher. They need someone who's going to come in and guarantee them from January to the end of the season 14, 15 goals. And I'm not
don't
sure.
Understand why Ivan Toney wouldn't be that.
I think Tony has done it in a system that's played around Tony. I don't think Arsenal are going to bring him in and then build the system around Tony. I think they have a lot of great players that do things in a way that works for them right now. And I think Tony, I don't know if Tony complements that, as much as we seem to think he does.
Okay. So then, I'll expand it a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Who in the Premier League, outside of obviously anybody they're competing with in the top 4, top 6 maybe, do you think fulfills this poacher role that they're missing if they were to go out within the Premier League, assuming it's a Premier League proven player? Is there even anybody you think that they could be getting to push them over the line that is maybe a Premier League target? Or do they need to go to Napoli and get a Victor Osimhen and spend the 200 million?
I don't. Well, there's other players. Who's the guy who's lining up the Bundesliga with a 20 million release clause?
Guillet or something?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I wouldn't.
I don't
Sure,
know.
he's a great deal.
That
I don't know.
transfer well.
I haven't. Yeah, no, but not. Yeah, something obviously doesn't look great on paper, but I just think Tony. I don't know Premier League. You know, you put me on a spot with that one. I can't think. A couple of years back, I would have said Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I thought would have been a great solution, but he's had such a laborious time with injuries and stuff like that, so probably not him. And outside of who else is there? Do you know who is a poacher and scores a lot of goals, but again injury problems? Callum Wilson. As much as I've often had, but it's the injuries, and it's the reason that I got a hard time about Wilson. But it's we're seeing it now. He's so damn injury prone. But yeah, if you're sticking in the Premier League, I can see easily how that deal happens. I just don't
say it for myself.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't anticipate them doing because it'll cost like 70 million to do it. If Arsenal were to go off and have Ivan Toney join their striker roster, and Gabriel Jesus and Ivan Toney were the two guys that they could select for the rest of the season, I think they win the Premier League. I think that's easily, with rotation, not playing every game, that's probably 8 to 9 more goals that they're going to have within their squad with the addition of Ivan Toney. And goals win you titles. And I think he fits in any system. He's a hold-up guy. He can bring Saka into play. He can bring Martinelli into play. He finishes from everywhere. He's super confident. I think
does he finish from everywhere? Because I haven't seen his
no, he does.
So.
His heat maps. He's just a very good striker. His off the ball movement's really good. He is not going to be worth the 80 million you have to pay to get him, but 80 million to be that thing, I think that would get you over the line to beat Man City this season and win you the title. I think it would be the right move. Now JP is offended. JP got very upset.
Yeah, he's run off to pet his dog and calm down a bit.
I don't know. Off. He's got a lovely pair of dogs in his anxiety room that he likes to just lie down on the floor and have them walk all over his body. He's gone to sit
with the anxiety dogs for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just, you've really got me on the whole form thing now. I'm actually going through the actual Premier League strikers, right? Like the ones who are actually listed as a striker, and that is a particularly tough one.
It's barren. There's not a lot of guys you can score. Ivan Toney is like gold because he's a Premier League guy who's very young still. Like, I mean, realistically, he's not like been around forever and ever. And in playing for Brentford, he's just very comfortable looking like a Premier League striker who can score like a lot of goals. He's not going to be at Brentford for much longer. He's going to go somewhere. So why not get a head start of that if you're Arsenal and buy it? Because otherwise he's going to go to a fucking Chelsea and he's going to score goals.
How old is he? He was born in 96. So that makes him, 27? Okay. He's 27. I think Arsenal are better to try and really just maintain. Yeah, it's whether we think that. I think they'd be better buying someone younger and mold. I think that personally, I think they'd be better to save some of the money and put 30 million into an Evan Ferguson and see if they can craft him into the player that they want.
But it's a now thing.
I know,
like,
and that's
it's a now thing. Like building for the future when you're now.
So now, what's the price point? You're saying you're Arsenal. You said yes, so I'm gonna go up and we'll go 40 million.
No, 60. It'll be 60.
No. Let me go through and I just wanted to see yes or no. 40 million?
No.
No. Whether you take him for this amount of money. So 40 million, yes. 50.
Would I take 50 if I was Brentford?
No, you're Arsenal and you're paying. So
50. I'd pay 50.
Yeah, 60.
Yes.
70.
Maybe that's where my cusp is, but like probably if I really believed in him, yes.
75.
No, I think 70 is probably where I cash out.
Okay, and do you
and I probably would be fine 70, 75 if it wasn't for the season he hasn't really been playing, so he's missed out so much time.
Do you think you see them? Will they sell him for 70?
I think they've said 70 and 80 publicly.
Mm-hmm. I think they'd take 62 because he's out in 18 months.
I
That's what I
also
was
think
about
if
to say.
somebody came through that was in a title race, he would push it.
Yeah,
He wouldn't be the kind of guy who wouldn't push it.
2025. Yeah, 18 months maybe.
18 months.
Oh, wow, that is a tough one. That is a tough one. And now I'm gonna have to watch videos of Tony because I didn't know he scored from so far, and you know, you seem to think he can score from anywhere. Maybe he can.
He can score.
I'm just gonna say, just so we can clear,
I love that photo of him though.
it's right there.
Yeah,
It's the
it's terrible.
20 goals. 20
And
goals,
he's
4
one of the
assists.
ones. Yeah.
Almost 3 shots a game for the Premier League.
Pretty incredibly good, isn't he?
And he's
Yeah.
good in the air. 3.3 aerials one is pretty good in the air.
And his ratings are constantly above 7.0 for the season.
Yeah.
Man. So
Like
I mean-
above 7.10.
I'll make you a bet. He doesn't sign though. Ha ha ha. Ha. Bet jokes because he's also got some scumbaggy things when it comes to betting on games. So let's not forget that. Let's not forget that. Speaking of scumbags, look who's on the screen. So last game, Wolves against Chelsea.
Have Chelsea turned the corner?
No.
Oh,
No.
I think I think they're starting to have players that are, and I think Cole Palmer is a freakishly good player.
Called it
Al
out.
Palmer
is-
is a freakishly good player. He's been good all season,
Fantastic.
but they're
Yeah.
still
Mm.
shit.
Yeah, it's Chelsea. Like they cannot fix their issues. They are struggling. They
It's-
should buy another 25 guys.
I think they're starting to fix it. I think the finishing is the. I thought the injuries are killing them. Right, they had a couple of good players that they lost. I think that was it. Gusto.
They
had
can't
back
get
up
guys
for-
back. And well, not just that.
He
Like
still's back. He's back. He played for
you
that.
spent $100 million on
played today?
Calcedo, and you spent
That's
$100 million on who's that Argentinian guy, the young kid, Enzo. And
Yeah, he won a
neither-
World Cup though, eh, JP? Like he's
Yeah,
their
but
best
he
player.
didn't play.
He won a World Cup.
He did not. He was not the best player. He did not play.
No, but he's Chelsea's best player because he won a World Cup.
He might be, but he's playing like shit. He's playing like a 30 million pound player, if that.
Sure.
And the guys that they have overspent for are not worthy of the values that they paid, and they are not going up anytime soon. I don't see Chelsea.
Well,
turning around
Chelsea's
anytime soon.
issues are pretty straightforward. They're a poorly assembled group of players,
100%.
but that's like
But also, I
that's
think
not an
players-
easy solve. There's not a manager that can work with a poorly assembled group of players and find balance. And half the manager's job is to find balance and instill like a philosophy. But if you can't balance a team because the actual players you have are fucking everywhere, there's no balance to the way they were bought. There was no blueprint to the way they were bought, which is what Chelsea's owners did. You're going to end up
I
with
think-
a lot of talent, but 2 or 3 windows probably required to fix it.
They're gonna have to offload an awful lot of these players, and they will be offloading a lot of these players, and a lot of them will be happily offloaded. I think they'd be stupid to not start to understand and Bowley especially understand the problems and start giving a lot more control back to where it should have been from day one in Pochettino, because he is a fantastic manager. And
I only disagree in that I think no club should be giving managers control anymore, and they should be hiring
director of football.
football directors.
Yeah.
Like Bully came in and spent a bunch of money like it was a FIFA video game. That's not
Yeah.
going to work. It's obviously not going to work. But also giving control over to a manager isn't necessarily the best model anymore either.
No, absolutely. But having him
Football
as a key
to work
part
with
of
a
it.
manager and identify targets and work with a scouting department and bring all that information together, make decisions. That's a balance of short-term, long-term financials.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
a fair point.
That's still
That's
a couple of seasons away from being able to like actually fix what they've done to themselves.
And not only that, but like
Yeah.
you could move to a director of football and then hire the wrong guy. So
That's
that
true.
could
Yeah, totally.
And there's nothing that's shown me that they know how to hire the right guy yet. Yeah, they got Poch in, but like they're not. That still doesn't matter. Like a coach is more on reputation and what you've seen. Director of footballs, those are a little bit harder to come across, and ones that do well.
And we talked about this with, like, even Eric, when we were criticizing how they were buying players and what they were buying players and all that stuff. Like a lot of these guys that can't move on because
Yeah,
they gave them big contracts. Like,
yeah.
And yeah, they're
Huge
they're
wages.
amortized,
Well,
they're
not
spread
huge
out
wages.
over multiple years, but nobody wants to pick up those contracts.
No.
Like,
No, but they'll take losses on them. They'll have to. I
They'll
think
have
people
to.
will realize that they're
Well-
not part of their. Some players will want to stay for the money, but others will go.
Yeah.
You know what? No, we'll go and play.
My
football."
big question is, they could be getting caught with a bunch of financial fair play from like 2012 to 2019.
sure.
So
They
what
should've
is the real actual spending power of Chelsea? Like if they can't cheat to get these players and get these coaches, what can they actually really buy and what can they actually really achieve? Yeah, they make a lot of money. They have a lot of infrastructure. They have
Well, that's not
infrastructure.
fair anymore, JP, because that time period was under a regime that are no longer in control of the club.
Well, I
The
get
new
that.
regime, who are not under financial fair play scrutiny, but will probably still have to deal with the fallout of that. They've come in and they clearly have spending power because they're the ones who put themselves in the most current spending mess that they have.
But, and correct me, I could be wrong on this, but it's not just about how much an owner can spend. Like there is numbers that have to relate to the profit of the club.
So financial fair play is you cannot spend more than you make.
Right.
Roman and his people
Right. We're overspending.
hid money
Yes.
and circulated money around, and basically if you summarize it with a couple words, it's they cook the books.
Yes.
These are lies and fabrications, and no Russian billionaire has ever done this.
So the new owners came in and noticed that the books weren't balancing and reported it and said, we don't think that the previous owners were reporting the numbers correctly, and we think that maybe some breaches were held as a result. They are not going to get off as a club just because new owners are playing ball
Right.
and reporting it. So even though the new owners didn't do it and they played ball and they came forward, the club will probably still get some sort of penalty. The new owners will have to deal with the fallout of that, point deduction, financial something or other, who knows. But when it comes to how the current owners are spending money and if they have financial flexibility to spend, it does seem like, since they started with a massive spending spree as soon as they got the club, that they have that kind of flex. But maybe they used it all up in one tremendously
That's what I'm
poorly
wondering.
thought out move, and they don't actually have any more money, and everything that happens now has to be funded by sales that they were banking on players being better than they actually are.
Like they're not going down, but like to the point of they can only spend at like maybe 40 million a summer unless they make some massive sales because they
Sure.
just their I can't say that word. Amortization is set them up negatively in the future where they've spent all of what they're supposed to spend this year.
Well, that's where they also maybe they didn't cheat because it was legal at the time, but they did spread out the money over
Differently.
longer contract periods and
Right.
installment plans, so that even if they spend 100 million on a player, their annual hit is probably only 18-20 million.
Right. But if you do that with 5-6 guys,
Yeah, they've
that
spent a
loads
lot,
up.
but it's still, because they spread it out so much, that it's probably still not as impactful as we all kind of hope it is.
Fucking jeez.
And listen, some of their players are young and will come to fruition
They're all
in a couple
young.
of years.
They're all silly young.
But then there are players that they need to start to become consistent players. Like Reece James needs to find a way to get healthy and play 75% of a Premier League
I
season.
don't think there's ever. I think he's done, dude. I think.
I honestly do too.
Yeah,
I don't
and,
think
that's the kind of shit where,
how he
like,
gets fit.
as what if they had anything that even resembled a plan, replacing him and his like impact to that team would never have been part of that plan. Now all of a sudden they have to spend however much money to fill in that hole that he represents in their team, because, and it's not really their fault, but like because he's physically just not going to be able to be that guy.
They've got a hell of a team. Like defensively, they have players. Don't forget, they've still got Wesley Fofana, the $80 million man, £80 million man. Like they've got Trevor
That was
Chalobah.
nuts. That was
It was insane. They just saw them and they were like, "Yeah, if you want to pay this," it was the most obscene amount of money for a player that really had nothing to show.
I get a little defensive about this because, like, for all the talk of Harry Maguire costing a fucking fortune from Leicester, this kid costs as much, if not a little bit more, and has done nothing.
Nothing.
Injuries are just a fucking bitch, so it's not his fault. But like, Harry Maguire can play another 2 years at Man United and have played there for 8 years by the time he's done at 10 million a year over 8 years. It kind of feels like, yeah, they overpaid, but it's kind of reasonable. Like at least he was a member of the team. Whereas this guy cost 80 million and got broken within months.
Wasn't he coming in off the back of a big injury at Leicester? Hadn't he had like a
Yes.
bad?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now. Yeah, he was out for 223 days with a broken fibula.
Yeah.
If you look at his
asshole from fucking Atletico Madrid in a preseason game.
Oh yeah.
Decided to go in hard and break his fucking leg.
Who was that?
I can't remember his name, but he's a fucking. I was so fucking mad.
Oh, is it Koke?
Not the guy who used to play for Chelsea.
Okay,
Up front.
It was like,
it wasn't Costa. No.
No, I want to say it was La something or other. If he's even there, because it was a couple of seasons ago.
It's wild. Like before Chelsea signed him, this is his injuries. Like before Chelsea signed him, in every season he had 19,
Llorente.
20
It was
season.
Llorente.
He had 75 days injured. He's had almost 100 days out with knee injuries. He had 26 days with a hamstring and 21 to 22, 223 days with a broken fibula. And then Chelsea signed him for 80 million.
But doesn't this go back to their recruiting? Like they're not recruiting like they used to. And so when you talk about buying younger players and them working out or even doing well, like they're missing the boat on a lot of these guys. They are not picking up on some very basic things. So spending that money on Caicedo, like that could have been a giant mistake. Like I'm watching this and I'm like, he doesn't look like a £100 million player. He doesn't, not that he isn't settled. He just doesn't look it. He doesn't look great.
You could go Cucurella, dude. Cucurella, they spend what?
Brighton players don't transfer well. I've been saying this.
And actually, the other one that has been a real disappointment, the guy that took off Southampton, was it Lavia? Lavia or what?
Yeah. Does he even play?
Liverpool wanted him. They wanted Caicedo. They lost both.
Yeah.
And now they're probably laughing, going.
They are laughing. Jurgen Klopp made a comment about that, and that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy times.
But they're all very young.
They're all very young. It could come.
And they're all trying to figure out how to play within a system that's failing, within a group of players that's poorly assembled. So I don't think any of those players are at least like all of a sudden shit. I think all those players probably still will come good and are still, worth the hype. Caicedo, for example, it's still worth the hype. They just cannot be expected to like shine when everything else around them is just fucking broken and not working.
The wheels have fallen off for sure.
But the other thing with Chelsea, as we finish this, the thing that is maybe a thing to look forward to for them is that Nkunku,
is coming back.
Is back. That
is now actually playing. He played his first minutes.
Man who's never
off
played
the bench. For the Carabao Cup,
He's
going
to be
never
great.
played in the EPL. So I think that's to me the idea that he's saving their season or he's helping it transform it. I don't know if I'm committed to that yet. I got to actually see him play Premier League games.
I've seen him play. He's a very, very good player. I haven't seen, obviously, Premier League. I totally get it. But fun fact for you, Paul. Actually, this weekend I was forgetting and totally forgot and then was rushing to make my fantasy changes. I saw the updates from the app and I was like, oh, he's got back in. So obviously I went, I'm going to kick Foden out as I brought in 1 week. I'll take the hit and I'll bring Doku back in. Right. And then I realized that it was actually my dyslexia had just had fun with me. And it wasn't Doku who was back. It was Nkunku. And I was like, well then, that was a terrible waste. And of course, Foden got the assist. So that was
I think he starts against Wolves. And I think Chelsea have a really easy run of fixtures. And I think Jackson can't score for shit. And if this kid is half the finisher he was in France, or I guess in Germany, because he is French, but he played in Germany. I think he can score some goals for Chelsea.
Do you think he starts this week?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. You think he goes straight in, eh?
He played 20 minutes for their cup game. I think they've been waiting for him to get to a place where he can start playing games. I think Jackson's not exactly like doing enough right now.
He's in terribly. Yeah, he's in terribly.
Like he had a run of games where he was scoring a little bit here and there, like in bags. But I think if he's fit enough for the road against Wolves, he starts. But I also say this with it's the holiday fixture list, right? Like you start one game and you come off the bench the next, or you reverse that. So in fantasy terms,
it could be a great look, though. I don't know how much he's in fantasy, but they've got Wolves, Crystal Palace, Luton,
Chelsea schedule is fucking there. As soon as they can start doing something as players, like as soon as somebody gets hot as a player on that team, there's some fantasy value there. Anywho, gents, long conversation. Nice talking with you. Everybody have a happy and healthy holiday, I suppose. Maybe we'll try to do a show during the holiday break next week, but I don't think we're going to see each other for
a while.
For the Christmas.
Yeah.
So
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, boys.
All the best. Safe travels, Luke.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Liam.
JP. Have fun looking for a new job.
Watching No Elf.
Yeah. Bon Noel, everyone.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Bon Noel.
Feliz Navidad.
This is the North End.